Let's start in child's pose. The toes are going to come together, your knees are going to come apart any amount that's comfortable, right? You're going to sit back towards your heels, and then you're going to bring your hands forward. You can use a block under your forehead if it doesn't reach down towards the mat. Hands go forward, and you stretch through the spine, letting the forehead drop down onto a block, onto the mat. Your tail is reaching back towards your heels. It may not come anywhere close to meeting it, but that's okay. It draws back, so you're drawing length in the lower back. Your knees may be out really wide. They may be close together. You can just drape the torso over your knees. For every person, the level of comfort is a little bit different, right? The knee position is makes it a little easier to drop in, right? And if your forehead isn't anywhere near the mat, it's really okay. You want to let the forehead touch down on something, right? Cushions, block here, maybe even making a little tower with your fists. Elbows will come out, you'll sit down. What we want to do is put a little pressure on that third eye center in the forehead, lengthen through the sides of the waist, drawing the tail, the sit bones back and down towards the heels, and give ourselves a few deep breaths. We're going to stay in child's pose for a bit, just to feel all of the different places where this pose is opening up. The front of the ankles, right? You're pressing down through the toes. Maybe you spread the toes. Feel a stretch in the front of the ankles. A stretch around the front of the knees, right? As they're deeply, deeply flexed. Around the glutes, around the back, right? Can you feel where the hamstrings come up underneath the glutes, wrapping around the back of the hips? Try and lengthen again in the lower back, drawing the tail back. Lengthen through the sides of the waist. Let's turn our hands up. So we open the shoulders a little bit. You can even lift. Bring the elbows in and stretch it back out. Forehead comes back. A few more deep breaths. With the hands turned up, you'll feel different stretches in through the shoulder girdle, in through the upper back. With your deep breaths, see if you can fill the lower back space, the middle back space, the backs of the lungs, the sides of the lungs. A few more deep breaths. Last breath in here. And a breath out. You'll turn the palms back down towards the mat and start to walk them in, lifting the torso a little bit. You're going to bring your knees in. Rather than bringing them forward under the hips for a tabletop pose, we're going to keep them behind the hips a little bit. Hands might even move a little bit more forward. You're going to get into the hips, into the shoulders, into the joints. You're going to pull forward. Let the hips sink down a little bit. And then swing them off to the right, pressing into the hands, gripping with the pads of the fingers. Pull them back towards a child's pose without stopping there, over to the left, and then all the way back around. So you're going to stretch the outer sides of the hips as you pull to each side. You're going to start to bring the spine into it, letting the hips sink. You can bring the head into it, the head and neck. If the hands and knees are not spread the right distance, if it feels kind of awkward, you're going to move them around so it feels good, right? You're going to work with your breath. As you push back, you're going to exhale. As you draw forward, you're going to inhale. Right, we're going to keep traveling around in this direction a few more times, so move your knees closer, farther, so that it feels good. If you bring your head and your hips into opposite directions, you're going to make a little bit of a figure 8. If that coordination just trips you up a little bit, just work on your hips going in a circle. Your spine getting a little bit of movement. Right? You can even bring that upper middle stretch, spinal stretch into it like a cat-cow. finding the right place in the spin of the circle to give the upper chest a little stretch too. Let's take 3 more around in this direction. Last one, we're going to come forward into the center and then switch directions. Left side, left hip goes out, back, right hip goes out and around. Right, and you just start traveling in this direction. Again, move your knees and your hands as much as you need to, as many times as you need to, so that you feel steady. Move your head and shoulders as much as feels good. Right, we're trying to get into some of the joints, into nice deep breaths, and just to feel a little bit of the tightness around the hips, loosening up. Get some movement in the spine, right? You can spread across the shoulder blades, the chest, as you move to different parts of that circle. And again, the head and the hips in opposite directions. You'll feel the sensation of this figure 8 movement. And if it doesn't feel awkward, right, and uncoordinated, it can feel pretty good. So a few more times around. Last circle. And back through the center. Take a nice deep breath through the center, lift through the heart. Exhale, chin to the chest. One more time, drawing the heart forward. You're going to tuck your toes underneath and you're going to come up into a downward facing dog. So the hips are going to go up and back. The legs are going to straighten a little bit. The arms are going to straighten. If you need to move your feet around, right, feet apart a little bit, bend the knees a little bit. Knees don't need to be locked. If it feels really tight in the back, you're going to keep them bent a little bit. You're just going to root the heels down as close to the mat as you can get them. And you lift your tail away from the heels, your sit bones away from the heels as much as you can. Giving yourself a few really, really nice deep breaths. You should be gazing in between your heels. If you can see your heels, kick them out a little bit so they're hiding behind your toes. Spreading through the fingers. You're still pushing down into the pads of the fingers rather than falling into the wrists, right? Shift your hands around if you need to feel more of a lift. Ears by the biceps. Upper arms hugging in from the outside, rolling down and in, right? Spinning the biceps forward, the triceps back. Give it 3 more breaths here in your downward dog. Last breath in. And a breath out. Lots of strength holding yourself up. Walk the hands back to the feet. Forward fold at the back of the mat. Bend into the knees any amount. Give it a little sway if it feels good. You're going to pull forward into the front of the feet just a little bit. Heels are still down, but you're going to lift the sit bones away from the heels even more to get more of a stretch. The heart's going to start to move forward. Draw the ribs in as you push into the mat. Let the hands slide up the sides and the legs come up just halfway. Take a couple of breaths here, rolling the shoulders open. Shoulder blades come onto the back, collarbone spread. Give it a really nice deep breath. And then a fold as you breathe out. Bend into the knees, sweep all the way up on the inhale. Hands to the heart as you breathe out. You can shift your feet around as much as you want to, right, to get them comfortable. Toes are spread in Tadasana, right? Find the 4 corners of the feet, rooting down the big ball, the big toe ball, the pinky toe, inner outer heel. If your knees are locking back, give them a little tiny bend. Move them into straight rather than hyperextended. Take a breath and lift through the arms. Feel yourself root down and reach up at the same time. Shoulders dropping, tail dropping, crown of the head lifting. Take a deep breath in. And then fold all the way down. Inhale, half lift. Exhale, fold. Root down, bend the knees if you like, sweep all the way up. And hands to the heart. A half sun salutation. Inhale, lift up. Exhale, fold all the way down. Inhale, lift halfway again. And fold it back in. Root down, bend the knees a little, sweep all the way up. You bend the knees to keep the spine straighter. Exhale, hands to the heart. See if you can do that on the way up and the way down. Inhale, circle the arms up. Maybe a little bend in the knees, spine straight, 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 straight. Heart forward as you fold all the way down. And then maybe straighten the legs. Inhale, half lift. Exhale, fold. Maybe a little bend in the knees, straight spine. Heart forward as you push into the mat and lift all the way up. Hands to the heart. Do that 3 more times. Inhale, lift. Exhale, fold. Inhale, half lift. Exhale, fold in. Sweep all the way up, bend the knees, spine straight, long spine. Exhale, hands to the heart. Inhale, circle. Exhale, fold. Moving with the breath. Inhale, half lift. Exhale, fold. Bend the knees, sweep all the way up. And exhale, hands to the heart. Last round. Inhale, circle up. And exhale, fold all the way down. Heart forward, head drops. Inhale, half lift. Ribs in, strong legs, strong back. Fold it back all the way in. Bend the knees and sweep all the way up. And hands to the heart. And then back down by the hips. Into Tadasana. Spread through the toes. Activate the feet. Lift that energy up the inseam of the legs. Into the pelvis. Up through the spine. All the way through the crown of the head. Give yourself a breath. And a breath out. And another breath in.